suggestions that Master gives. If you remember, we talked about last week in the Courage, this book, How to Have Courage, Calmness, and Confidence. He actually said, listen to violin music. And so we have the great privilege and pleasure to have Sherry play for us.
We also have the privilege of having bagels sitting on the table.
Yes.
So if anyone wants a bagel, just help yourself. There's cream cheese.
If you're at home, you can do a bagel visualization. I wanted to start with just a personal kind of, it's one of Swamiji's affirmations actually in this book, Affirmations for Self-Healing, is humor. And it's important to have a sense of humor, to be able to laugh at yourself, because you don't want to take yourself you want to take the spiritual path very serious, but you don't want to take yourself too serious. So anyway, my quick story is, I had a dream a couple weeks ago with Swami Kriyananda. And in the dream, we were sitting around a big dining table. And it was, I knew it was dinner in the dream, and I was sitting to his right side, and he turned to me and he said, "So, you failed English?" Like, question mark. Because he was asking me a question. And I said, "No, sir, actually, I mastered in English." And then we just both laughed, like very heartily. It was just like, it was a big joke. And there's a lot of joy and lightness in this dream. So anyway, fast forward to this past Sunday, and I was sharing during Sunday service. I was trying to talk about Swami Sri Yukteswar. He wrote this book called The Holy Science. You guys know The Holy Science, Scott and Ailey. And in there, I don't know if you recall, it talks about the 8 meannesses of the heart. It says the heart naturally is, it's effulgent, it's naturally sharing love, and he talks about the magnanimity of the heart. So I was trying to say magnanimous, but I said magnanimous. I actually made up a word called magnum, which is a combination between magnanimous and harmonious, which probably should be a word, but it actually isn't.
Says who? Isn't it? So
But
voted in.
I didn't realize till afterwards, till Sherry and Keshava drew it to my attention. Keshava thought I was conjugating in some different manner, but I actually wasn't. So anyway, I just wanted to share that because it's on topic. Our 2 topics tonight are 1, uprooting negative emotions, and then 2, scientific healing affirmations. So one of the keys to uprooting negative emotions is loosening the grip that the ego has on us. And that's where humor comes into play. It helps you to lighten up and to relax and not take yourself so seriously. Master also talks about, I just listen to this. This is great. He says, remind yourself always, I have the most fascinating task to perform. It keeps me so occupied that there is no time or energy left to worry about the affairs of other people. I am engaged in the business of lifting myself from ignorance to understanding and enlightenment. It requires all of my attention to rid my thoughts and emotions of anger, jealousy, pride, revenge, fear, sense of lack, and sickness. These hindrances I must catch and cast out forever, so that when the debris of negation is cleared away, the pure water of life itself may spring forth and flow freely through me to bless all. This is my work. How can I be concerned with anything else? It's so inspiring. I mean, when we get caught up in, I must be doing this or that, or, our little drama, to feel, wow, I have the most fascinating and engaging and awe-inspiring work to perform. And that's actually lifting myself from ignorance to enlightenment. I mean, how inspiring is that? And this is exactly also what Sri Yukteswar was talking about with those meannesses of the heart. Once we remove fear and shame and grief and anger and this pride of pedigree and race prejudice and condemnation, and he even talked about smugness as well, sort of intellectual pride. That when all of these sort of burrs that get attached to the heart, when all of those are removed, then the heart's natural love can flow. And this is it's the whole path. The whole path really is self-purification, because then God's light, then God's love can flow through us freely. And we many times think, of course, in the opposite way, because that's the way we're trained in the world, that we have to create, I used to belong to this gym in the East Coast, and this sales guy in there was really funny. His name's he had a sales gym guy's name, like Johnny Helene, I think was his name. So, and he had this little chart of the human body, and he said, "You're gonna come in here." He's like, "And your biceps are," and you get a pen. He's like, "Your biceps now they're 12 inches." He's like, "You're gonna come in here, you're gonna make it happen. They're gonna be 14." He drew this diagram. It's this attitude of making it happen. And of course, we have to put out willpower on the path, but it's of a different type. It's not that we don't have to put out energy, but it's the energy to remove all of those meannesses of the heart, so that what we do is then receive. We don't create the higher truth, we receive the higher truth. Give me a light to light my way, Sherry tells us. Truth is the light, so wise men say. So this light, God's light, is there all the time. It's, of course, just a question we need to open the curtains of our consciousness. Jyotish, Swami Jyotish, who I think most of you have met Anandamoy Ma. I don't know if a lot of you know Anandamoy Ma. If you don't know, it was the famous Bengal saint that Paramahansa Yogananda wrote about in Autobiography of a Yogi, and she's this incredible saint in Bengal. Anyway, Jyotish met her, I think in the 70s or 80s or sometime in there, and he brought a bunch of malas and things for her to bless, and he had sort of brought out this bag, and she said, "Why do you bring these malas and things for me to bless? Can't you see God's light, shining down always?" And then she blessed them. Anyway, but that's how it is. It's God's light is there all the time. God's blessings. You remember that story that Paramahansa Yogananda told, that Swamiji told of Paramahansa Yogananda, that there was a disciple who said, "Well, I know, Master, I could do it, if your blessings were there." And he said, "My blessings are there. God's blessings are there. It's your blessings that are lacking." We have to put out, it's not, yes, the God's light is there all the time, so, that's it. We have to put out that effort. But again, the effort is to remove these meannesses of the heart. So uprooting these negative emotions, in large part, is clearing, is purification. Any thoughts on this?
And so, when you do feel one or more of these meannesses, to just direct it upwards.
It's important. Acceptance is a very important part of it, Sherry, is to acknowledge first what we're feeling. So if we're feeling anger, for example, Paramahansa Yogananda was very practical. He said, if you're angry, don't speak. If you're angry and you don't have this self-control, sit, I'm angry and I'm going to direct the energy up to the point between the eyebrows. Before that, he said, just leave the room. Get out of a situation so you're not a catalytic converter, you know, exploding. So I don't think catalytic converters explode, but you know.
So it is very inward and very outward. Yogananda said to fight delusion on all fronts. So it's like, yes, we have to do the inner work of, you know, I'm feeling this certain whatever meanness of the heart. I'm gonna offer that up to God. Yes, we have to do that. God is the doer. All these things we learn, but we also have to change. And that's like Narayan's talking about, using these practical things to actually act differently. You know, so whenever, if jealousy comes up, you know, it's like, how does that, does it come out through my mouth? Does it come out in my actions in some way? Or is it just still in sort of the thought realm? So if it's just in the thought realm, we have to work to change our thoughts. But if it's actually expressing itself through our energy, then even more so through our physical body, through our speech, whatever it may be, we have to work to change all of it. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, it is like Yogananda said to Swami, when ecstasy comes, everything goes. So if we just get too caught up in our own, oh my God, I've got this meanness and this and that, and you know, oh my God, I'm like a terrible person. You know, it can get so blown out of proportion where maybe we do just need to sit, offer it to God. Because a lot of times it's like, I was thinking about this, you know how we have cleanses and detox and stuff like that? You know, we go on a juice cleanse or whatever to detoxify our systems. So, but you can't detox until you have a healthy system. I mean, it's not a good idea. You have to build up, you have to tonify your system so that you're strong enough to then cleanse. So it's kind of the same way with whatever it is we're working on. We have to be strong enough mentally, physically, spiritually to then cut the head off of delusion. It's like, hey, I've got a really strong ego now. Chop it off. You know? But I mean, it does kind of work that way. It's like we have to be strong enough in ourselves to be able to then say, you know what? I don't need that anymore. I don't need that smugness anymore. Because it's God that's smart in me. It's God that's talented in me. It's God that's an idiot in me. You know, all these different things. It's like we have to just own it first before we can release it.
And one thing that I'm reminded of too, Sherry, is how Paramahansa Yogananda said that seeds of past bad karma can't germinate if they're fired in the light of divine wisdom. You know, this is what he's talking about, like lighting the match. You know, we have a forest of bad habits, of these meannesses of the heart and things like that, but with the light of meditation, the light of Kriya Yoga, that the whole mind forest, in a sense, becomes ablaze. Literally, I mean, Master talked about how in the 20s, he was saying that your brain changes, right? When you meditate, that the light floods your being and that it changes. Now it takes time to change, so that's where we need to exercise all of our faculties. So willpower, feeling, intelligence, that's when we're going to get into the affirmations. That is one of the keys, the tips that Master says on how to practice, that you have to practice with attention, you have to practice with concentration, you have to practice with feeling, you have to actually practice with the conviction of your mind and let that saturate and sink in from the conscious mind into the subconscious. And then, what's interesting is that Paramahansa Yogananda said that good habits are just as easily performed as bad habits. Remember in the Mahabharata, we've been talking on Thursdays with the essence of the Bhagavad Gita, that Dronacharya, who is the martial arts guru of the Pandava brothers, the forces of light, and the Kauravas, the forces of darkness, Drona represents habit. So it's, in other words, habit, you have good habits and you have bad habits. And each are just as easily performed. So this is where Master was a master salesman. He said, you have to live. Why not live in the right way? Just you learn self-control, learn habits that are helping you to live in harmony and in attunement with God's will. And so that's where exercising all of it, willpower, feeling, intelligence comes in, because it helps us. We can't develop the habits unless we actually want to. So we have to get our feeling nature on board, we have to get our willpower on board, and we have to understand it has to be done freely, willingly, intelligently, enthusiastically. Like Swami Sri Yukteswar said, remember in his ashram, he said the door is always open. You can go whenever you want. He said, I'm not keeping you here. And that's how it is on the path. It's that it's free. God has given us, this is one of the greatest gifts we have. It's free will. But, we think of free will as, I get to choose what shirt I'm going to wear today, or, the hat I'm going to wear, or whatever. But it's not that kind of free will. It's literally the freedom to just, like Anandamoy Ma, to open up to that light, to open up to that grace.
And the freedom to screw up.
Yeah, or the freedom, to accept or deny. Exactly. And there's no judgment. That's the thing. I mean, Divine Mother's not judging. The masters aren't judging. They're just it's this constant tractor beam of love. That's Whispers from Eternity, right? The book of prayer demands that Yogananda wrote. It's this there's this constant coaxing. And it's like last week or the other week we talked about if you went out on a date, and you were out on a date and the date kept pulling and looking at the cell phone and, looking around the room, and you would not feel loved, would you? You wouldn't feel like someone was giving you their attention. And that's why we need to own our own thoughts and feelings and minds so that we can give them to God. In fact, that's one of the affirmations in this chapter on scientific healing affirmations, the one for psychological success. You remember that one? Where he says, teach me to own again. Own again my matter-souled mind and brain, that I may give them to thee in prayer and ecstasy and meditation and reverie. So we need to own our mind in order to give it to Divine Mother. And that's why that's where the real uprootment of negative emotions comes from. Yes, it's sinking into the subconscious and planting positive seeds and positive habits into the subconscious, but the real transformation happens on that deeper level, Sherry, which is in the superconscious. And that's the give me a light, to light my way. Truth is the light, so wise men say. It's the one thing, it's that substance behind everything that the saints remind us of when we get off course, right? Boom. Oh, we're going all about ritual routine, and Swami Shankaracharya came along, or the Buddha came along and emphasized this, and then we got too sectarian here, so another saint came, and Chaitanya came to emphasize Divine Mother. Chaitanya came right around 1700, right around the cusp of when we went from Kali Yuga to Dwapara Yuga, and Ramakrishna, Paramahansa Yogananda, then these saints that were coming to express this new relationship with God as Divine Mother. It's very interesting. So the real transformation through these affirmations and through all our spiritual practices comes when we tap into the superconscious. I think Dhyan's going to lead a course actually next year, maybe in January or February or sometime, on a book that Swamiji wrote called Awaken to Superconsciousness. So that, we tap into the superconsciousness through meditation and through these affirmations, but we can live superconsciously. We can practice it at all times, and the way to do that is it's putting out the energy, the proper feeling, and the proper thoughts to meet it halfway. Because remember, like the sun, like Anandamoy Ma, that grace, that superconscious grace is descending all the time. It's just the song of spirit. It's there all the time. It's just tuning in and remembering, oh yeah. That's why I'd like to encourage for some homework, some right now homework, hi Abhishek, is practicing the presence of God. Just start having that conversation with Divine Mother. What shirt do you want me to wear? What sweatshirt jacket should I wear, Divine Mother? How should I talk to my executive director who is kind of grumpy? Divine Mother, what do you want me to do in this? And then it gets you, all these practices get us into this flow of living superconsciously. Yes.
That brings up a really good point that I was talking to a friend about the other day. She was saying, because I was mentioning something along these lines of bringing God and Divine Mother into everything that we do, and she was like, doesn't God have better things to do? And it was like, no. I mean, God manifested each one of us. I mean, God is running these bodies. So if God isn't interested in what we're doing, then something is really wrong, because God's doing it all. It's all God's play. So if we're saying, oh, God's too busy for my little drama, it's like, we're totally missing the boat here. We're just saying, I'm just this little ant worker or worker bee doing my thing, and God is like separate off in space somewhere looking, and like has a lot better things to do than these little ants crawling around Earth. No, God is doing all of it. God's in all of it. So you better be interested in it. I mean, or he would just say, done with that dream. Poof.
Well, it's like that man who is a scientist, and he said to Yogananda, well, how could the God that's created this vast universe care about, the little pangs and trivial desires of my heart? And he said, your conception of the infinite is too finite. God is also infinitesimal. So I think that's what you're saying. God is it's the thing that you can't not wrap your mind around, that he's nearer than the near. He's nearer than our thoughts and nearer than our feelings. And that's one that has to be absorbed and taken in deep meditation in our communion. Let me share with you.
Can I just say real quick?
Yes,
Also, it's also the ego is messing with you. The ego doesn't want you to bring in God because then the ego doesn't get to what's it? To control.
Run the show.
Yeah, run
Yeah.
the show.
Yeah, it always wants to create separation, right? That's the ego's job. So any way that it can keep God out or create a veil, it's going to do that. And we were talking about uprooting negative emotions. So this is Yogananda here on anger. If you want to conquer any person, make him break his sword. Conquer evil with love. That is divine strength. It is much stronger than anger. The person who is angry with you should draw from you an ocean of love and of calmness, which will quench the fire of his wrath. Learn to give love, calmness, and continuous understanding to those who are angry. This reminded me of you, Jim, how you were sharing, that people are either love or crying out for love.
Expressing love.
Yeah, expressing love or crying out for it.
Something's happening.
And that if we can have that I love that, just that last little bit where he said continuous understanding, to try to be in that super conscious flow of continuously understanding that, wow, okay, rather than the meanness of the heart, right, which is one of them, this condemnation, which is judging other, why is this person, why are they like that, why are they like this, why this, why that, but to continuously understand, well, geez, I've been there. I haven't been there in this life, I've certainly been there in others. And that, like, that calming presence, like a cool current, is flowing through you and helping to bathe and relax and calm that person. Of course, yes.
Sorry. The why is kind of useless unless we actually come to some deeper understanding. That's the way the conscious mind works. Why, separating and dissecting, and why is this like this? And it doesn't actually, gain anything because Yogananda said the reason follows feeling. So when we're agitated about something, it's like, why, and the feeling is agitated, so the reason just understands agitation. It's like, everything's wrong, nothing's right, and that's wrong, but this is wrong too, and look at how every single thing in this world is so darn wrong. But then if we can somehow recognize that and go, okay, I just need to calm my heart and get into a place of love, then the reason can actually work for us and go, oh, well, actually, the reason why is this, and it leads to this deeper understanding and deeper compassion and then deeper love. So it's like they both snowball. It's just, do we want to snowball into the dirt, or do we want to snowball into lighter and more loving feelings?
It's the second Yoga Sutra, which we talk about all the time because it has everything that we need to know. Yoga, Chitta, Vritti, Nirodha. Yoga, union with God, is the neutralization or the calming of the vortices of feeling, the Chitta in the heart. So when that's calm, you don't really understand someone or something until you understand it at a heart level. Isn't that so? Yogananda used to say, you look at a rose is beautiful because it's a rose. That when you start to analyze it and count its petals, it loses its beautiness when you get so up in your head. So there has to be this harmonic blend of the heart being open and calm, and then it's that chant. What's that chant, Dion? Will that day come to me, Ma? Thank you. And it goes, heart's lotus will blossom forth.
Darkness will steal away.
Darkness will steal away. right? When the heart's lotus blossoms, then the darkness of delusion steals away.
I think that also when somebody is behaving in a way that's not delightful, I think understanding
It's so nice of you.
understanding the suffering, because understanding it in yourself is the understanding the suffering that it causes. So you're understanding how they're perpetuating their own suffering, which allows for compassion, and then in that compassionate state, you're receiving them in a way that allows them to soften, because that energy, even if you say nothing, has its own magic.
Yeah.
I'm just rewording what you said. But
No, that's right.
It's
I
helpful.
Yeah, that's like
Jim?
learned that in the past in some course I took years ago, of always holding whoever the person is as much as I can in their highest possibility. So whatever that highest possibility would be, all the aspects of the light that we're talking about.
Thank you, Sherry.
And as you say, is that holding that space for them by just, you don't have to say anything, it's just holding that there allows a shift to take place and opening a space in their own consciousness for things to shift, that it's like a magic or a medicine or truth.
I have a story I can share that this is when I really learned this lesson. So I was going to this group, like a spiritual development discussion type of group, and this person started going, and this person is a very difficult personality, just insane, and everybody felt the same way, but we were, nobody was going to be all mean to him. And I thought, well, I know I don't have to talk to this person, but I know that I need to come up with some solution, because I'm going to go into judgment if I don't. And so I thought about it, and then the answer came to just hold them in compassion. So I practiced it just in my own head. And I was like, oh yeah, I can do that. So I practiced doing that, and after 2 or 3 times, we were all sitting outside, and he came to me and he said, how come that you're the only person that I feel comfortable on? There's something I feel when I'm speaking to you, like a familiarity, a comfort that I don't feel with people. I said, I don't know, I knew, but I didn't want to tell him because I figured take it personally. Well, you're so difficult. And well, that was my first clue. But so he started insisting that I was in the military, and so I traveled around. I said no. But after everybody had left, I decided to take a chance, because this voice inside kept prodding me. And so I decided to suggest that he cuts people off. I said that to cut me off when I'm interrupted. Instead of the whole gap, I just picked that simple thing. And he was a bit tense, but he took it well. And he was trying to argue the point. And I'm like, but it kept interrupting me. And I just said, well, that's an interruption. And then I casually mentioned that I wasn't the only person who felt this way. And then he just flipped out. And he started going off on me. And he started attacking me with stories. And I mean, this was the most clear and eloquent he was in speaking than any other time, was when he was going off. And I was in this state of compassion, and all I felt was joyful. I felt concerned that I maybe pushed too far, but my concern was later allayed when I realized, I learned later in communicating with him, I realized that there was a release that he'd gotten from me just continuing to hold compassion while he was going off, and that there was a shift, and so I realized that not only does compassion help me with a difficult situation, but it's really serving the other person in ways that neither of us may know, because I don't know that he actually understood what happened, but when I saw him, everything sort of clicked, and what he said,
Yeah.
So it was interesting.
Thank you for sharing that, Amisha.
great.
That's really powerful. And
It's my go-to memory.
yeah, I mean, it's like anytime we can, you don't know someone's story, right? That's the thing, like everybody has their story, and everybody has gone through incarnations. The divine love sorrow. There's a chant it was a song that Yogananda made as a chant, and a song as well, it's beautiful. But through endless incarnations I've called out for thy name. So we don't know, the challenges and the struggles and the tribulations that this soul has gone through, just by you acting as a channel of love and compassion and understanding, and not getting into a reactive, the tit for tat, which is the normal exchange I'm sure that he probably felt and experienced, that softened him, and then God's light come in. That's when change happens. And Searchlight of Love, it's one of Yogananda's metaphysical meditations. These terrorist attacks, of course, is that in this meditation he says that the evil in this world, that God needs the searchlight of your love to dispel the darkness in this world, right? I mean, we are co-creators with Spirit, and Divine Mother needs us to just act as channels of compassion. And one of the greatest ways Yogananda said that that you're progressing spiritually is if you're peaceful and harmonious in your home environment, with your husband, your wife, your children, your friends, those people that you're relating to. He said if you can be a king of peace there, then you can hold that peace anywhere. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. It's interesting too. Yogananda said that people know when they're acting stupid. I mean, for the most part, not all the time. I mean, some people you can just see they just seem completely clueless about an interruption. Maybe they need that kind of guidance, like what you shared. But usually people know when they're doing the wrong thing. They feel it inside. And he said I think what you shared was absolutely beautiful, and it reminded me of this. So please don't think that I'm saying it about what you said, because I think you did the perfect thing. But he said to draw attention to a person's shortcomings, it's like it just adds a different layer of negativity to it. So say Narayan comes home and is just in a foul mood and erupts at me. If I can stay in that place of compassion, he already knows he messed up, he blew up, he was in a bad mood. But if I'm holding him in compassion and love, then he can soften. Like you guys are talking about, he can relax and know he's not being judged, on top of that he screwed up. You know what I mean? So it's then there's that that ability to change more easily, because all of those meannesses of the heart, it doesn't just feel bad to be in that space of having a mean heart, but it's it cuts us off from change, because we have this little box that we've created for ourselves. We have this box also that everybody else creates for us, that in every single interaction, it's what is the box that Avishag has for me? What is the box that Dion has for me? And it's it affects us, even if it's subtle, even if we're maybe not sensitive to it, it still affects us in some way. So to be able to hold that space of seeing the highest for everybody, it's it's so incredibly helpful, because yes, for ourselves of just being in a loving state, and how wonderful is that, but suddenly that person can feel like a bird out of a cage, and oh my God, this box that everybody puts me in is just not there, and I'm free to be who I really am. which is a child of God, which is a free soul. I mean, if there was a way that we could teach that in school, like, hey, don't judge Sally by her outer appearances and like what comes out of her mouth. Just know and accept that she's a child of God. And at the deepest level, she's completely free. We would just be a completely different society. You know?
Yeah, it takes practice. So that's why we have
It's learned in school, starting.
every moment of our lives.
That's like asking, why can't we all be part of an orchestra? Because it takes a lot of work.
Yeah. We're gonna shift to affirmations. Let me just share with you.
Can I
Yes,
share one
Jim,
thing?
go
Is
ahead.
It does tie into the next step of affirmations, because what I think what's helped me the most in resolving that, like you say, if I could become that peace, a place of peace around my home. Because I have things. I have issues with my brother from the past. For 40 years with my father-in-law, he was always very judgmental of me. So I've had many issues where he could trigger me, or used to be able to trigger me, but not so much. And so when I'm aware of those, and what I do is every night in my prayer work is what I do as part of my affirmative work. Is really that's what prayer is. It's affirmations. Is that I'll ask for guidance, and I'll bless them, and I'll hold them in the highest, and I'll pray for them that they're healthy and whole and perfect, and guide me that for whatever I need to say with them, that I say the best thing with the right thing. All that type of work is really the practice, the practical work that has made, to me, it's like miracles now with my father-in-law. It's almost like a different experience I have with him now. You know, we could spend time together and drive to San Francisco and things like that, which couldn't happen a few years back. 5 years ago, forget it. You know, before I came here and had these type of tools to kind of understand that. So I think, and that is a beginning, I think, because they're the most connected to us. Because we can get in a little tussle with someone in the car, or somebody pisses us off, or maybe somebody at work. But we have a certain amount of distance with that. We don't have to really spend that much time with them. But with our family, we're with them all the time, within reason and all that. And to find that, I think, has helped being out in the world more, I think, to be able to work on that. But that's a very practical way. And I know what they are. All I have to do is think about them. And then they'll come into my consciousness if it's something that's with my brother, or with the way my sister is acting, or judgments, or things like that. And then to hold them in this higher possibility, and how can I be with them that will create the greatest good? Show me the right action that I should do while I was with them, and bless them. See them surrounded in divine light, whole and healthy, that everything is perfect and vibrant in their life. They're successful. All of those things, of course, I do want for myself, right? In a sense, but they are really, and that, I think, like Avishad was saying, it creates this bigger space for that to happen. Having prayer work in meditation, and usually from there, I go into meditation after I've spent. And I have a fair amount of work to do. I might do this prayer work for an hour before I begin meditation at all. Sometimes I realize that 2 hours have gone by and I time to go back. So it can take a while. But the truth, though, that you're saying, this light and the truth, those are the truths and the light. So that's really what it is, and that the more that can be grown, and the more strength that can come from there.
Ailey, did you want to share something?
Yeah, I wanted to say that you said, of course, I want things to come to me.
Mm-hmm.
And my experience with the way I act toward other people is, if I'm doing it in the right way, it comes right back.
It's gonna come, right? That ultimately is what happens in a sense. So,
And this whole bringing in the super conscious solutions, getting out of the reactive process, that's where meditation comes in.
For me, I heard this story about this guy just doing first time learning compassion meditation, did 1 minute for this person who's talking to his head, difficult neighbor, and the next day the neighbor knocked on his door and apologized for being a difficult person. And it occurred to me that, I was putting too much pressure on myself for the amount of preparation and setup and effort that needed to be, and that 1 minute is enough. And if 1 minute is enough, so is 30 seconds. So sometimes I'll just bust out a quick 30 seconds. Just, it's a way to build a practice, to remember, to maintain, and to just use it on the go.
Yeah.
I think if I could add something to that there's a practice that grows with that.
Yeah.
That there are people that can just say, I don't need to know what's wrong. I just know God is right where they are. And they can get healed and get out of the bed and just walk home, you know. So there's different levels of ability there, but the practice, I think, that they went through to be able to get to that place, and we can still do that too in prayer work, and just look at that and just say, God is right there. And then all of that, from our consciousness, whatever that is, can do that. And just, how long did that take?
But what I'm also saying is that the 1 minute builds up to the more, versus the more builds moving to the 1 minute. Means that, because that's the reason I had trouble having a consistent formal practice, as I'm putting too much intellectual pressure or assumptions on the practice. And I realize even though 10 minutes is really short and I can do a lot more, doing a 10-minute practice every day will help me start setting up a space. And then from that, creating a space, I can start reorganizing to have a bigger set. And that's what I realized this weekend, is that's what I need to do, is just create 10 minutes and not do more, because I can easily fit that in right now.
Yeah.
And then if I want to do some more after I drop off the kids, I can do more, but eventually I'll be able to shift my schedule.
Even a little bit of practice, Krishna says, even a little bit.
But for me, it's not even, it has to be a little bit.
Yeah.
In order for me to be able
That's better. But, and those little, you know, like 3 minutes of if you meditated intensely for 3 minutes a day, every day, versus like trying to sit down for an hour and a half, and, you know, you're vague and all over the place. That's, it all counts, I think, is what you're saying, Abhishaga does. It's cumulative. It all adds up. Remember Lahiri Mahashai said, every breath can be a new incarnation. You know, this is the practice of Hong Sa. Just every moment, just realizing, okay, you know, this is where my breath, my spirit resides, and then feeling that connection with other people. Let me share this with you, and then Dharma Devi's we're gonna talk just briefly about some keys to affirmation, and Dharma Devi's gonna lead us in one. Be silent and calm every night for at least 10 minutes. Preferably much longer before you retire, and again in the morning before starting the day. This will produce an unbreakable inner habit of happiness, which will make you able to meet all the trying situations of the everyday battle of life. With that unchangeable happiness within, seek to fulfill your daily needs. Seek happiness more and more in your mind, and less in the desire to acquire things. Be so happy in your mind that nothing that comes can possibly make you unhappy. Be happy because you know that you have acquired the power not to be negative, and because you know that you can acquire at will whatever you need.
Can I just say real quick, for people joining online, you are welcome to chat in. I think you have to have an account, which you can create for free on Livestream, and then you can chat with Dion. He is there with the computer and can relay your comments or questions to the group here. So feel free to do that anytime.
Excellent. Now, before we practice this affirmation that Dharma Devi is going to lead us in, just a few keys to practicing affirmation. One is sitting up straight. Okay, Yogananda talked about that. Of course, all yogis talk about having a straight spine, allowing the energy to flow freely with the straight spine. He also said facing east, just like meditating. You know, facing east is helpful for affirmations. And to practice them with deep concentration, right, with attention, with feeling, with intelligence, with will. So there's some affirmations that are more willpower oriented, some are more devotional, more feeling oriented, some are more jnanic, more wisdom oriented. One suggestion that Yogananda gave for practicing affirmations is to do them right upon waking and before going to bed. And that's to help plant the seeds in the subconscious. And then, like we were practicing here, to practice when we're calm, after meditation, when the mind is still, so that we can tap into the superconscious.
You know, another good time to do affirmations, and I learned that I'm not the only one who thinks this, is when you're in the shower. Because I don't know about you, but my mind gets really active when I'm in the shower. I don't know if it's like the water on my head or what it is, but my mind can just start going all over the place. And then it's like just bringing it back to an affirmation. I noticed, I'm looking at Dion because I heard him doing an affirmation because now we all live in the same house, so you get to hear when people are bringing in the affirmations, like, yeah, it's a good time. So any time that you notice your mind wandering is a great time for affirmations. And just like you were reading earlier, do I have time? Do I have time to be judging others? Do I have time to be, how do I have all this time to letting my mind go in these directions I don't really want it to go? I've got to be working on myself. Affirmations. I've got to be thinking about God. There's so many different things we can be doing during those times that is helpful. Samadhi. The poem Samadhi. And I've heard a lot of people, I've actually seen it in a couple of places where they have Samadhi beautifully laminated on some pretty paper, and it's just right there in the shower, and it's like, it takes a good while to recite Samadhi. So, especially with any kind of consciousness around it, so you don't have a whole lot of time to do anything else. It's just there.
I don't know how long your showers are, but if I'm not washing my hair, I'm in and out in 2 minutes.
Well, speaking of
Hair takes a while.
Get all up in there.
Speaking of Samadhi, we did promise, it's a good reminder, because we promised Ailey that we would listen to Samadhi. So actually, why don't we take that as our final, this is about 8 minutes long, and it's Swami Kriyananda reciting the poem Samadhi. So take it, close the eyes, and take it inwardly, and then we'll sit for a few moments at the end of it.
Vanished the veils of light and shade. Lifted every vapor of sorrow. Sailed away all dawns of fleeting joy. Gone the dim sensory mirage. Love, hate, health, disease, life, death. Perished these false shadows on the screen of duality. Waves of laughter, scylla's of sarcasm, melancholic whirlpools, melting in the vast sea of bliss. the storm of Maya stilled by magic wand of intuition deep. The universe, forgotten dream, subconsciously lurks, ready to invade my newly wakened memory divine. I live without the cosmic shadow, but it is not bereft of me. As the sea exists without the waves, but they breathe not without the sea. Dreams, wakings, states of deep turiya, sleep, present, past, future no more for me, but ever present, all flowing, I, everywhere. Planets, stars, stardust, earth, volcanic bursts of doomsday cataclysms, creation's molding furnace, glaciers of silent X-rays, burning electron floods, thoughts of all men past, present, to come. Every blade of grass, myself, mankind, each particle of universal dust, anger, greed, good, bad, salvation, lust. I swallowed, transmuted all into a vast ocean of blood of my own one being. Smoldering joy, oft puffed by meditation, blinding my tearful eyes. Burst into immortal flames of bliss, consumed my tears, my frame, my all. Thou art I am thou, knowing, knower, known as one. Tranquilled, unbroken thrill, eternally living, ever new peace. Enjoyable beyond imagination of expectancy, samadhi bliss. Not an unconscious state, or mental chloroform without willful return. Samadhi but extends my conscious realm, beyond limits of the mortal frame, to farthest boundary of eternity, where I, the cosmic sea, watch the little ego floating in me. The sparrow, each grain of sand fall not without my sight. All space floats like an iceberg in my mental sea. Colossal container I of all things made. By deeper, longer, thirsty, guru-given meditation comes this celestial samadhi. Mobile murmurs of atoms are heard. The dark earth, mountains, vales, lo, molten liquid. Flowing seas change into vapors of nebulae. Om blows upon vapors, opening wondrously their veils. Oceans stand revealed, shining electrons, till at last sound of the cosmic drum vanish the grosser lights into eternal rays of all-pervading bliss. From joy I came, for joy I live, in sacred joy I melt. Ocean of mind, I drink all creation's waves. 4 veils of solid, liquid, vapor, light, lift aright. Myself in everything enters the great myself. Gone forever fitful, flickering shadows of mortal memory. Spotless is my mental sky, below, ahead, and high above. Eternity and I, one united ray, a tiny bubble of laughter. I am become the sea of mirth itself.